welcome to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. My name is Teresa MacLennan. I'm the Executive Director here at the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie. We are so glad that you, our community, have joined us today for our show. As you know, the purpose of our program is to talk about the lives and experiences of women. We talk about women who are experiencing abuse, women involved in human trafficking, mental health and addiction. We talk about women in position of leadership, women in politics and policing. We really want to try and capture lives and experiences of women. And so we're always so happy that our community comes alongside and joins us in these conversations. Before we begin, we do want to recognize and thank our Indigenous community for allowing us to have these conversations on these traditional lands. We value the opportunity to be allies and partners in your journey and ours as well. Thank you so much to our Indigenous community. So I am so thrilled today to be having a conversation with Marie Imbeau, who is a family court support worker here at the shelter. And many of our viewers who follow us will remember we've had several conversations about the court experience for women. And we really think it's important that we continue to talk about these particular conversations to educate our community, because no one can really know how difficult that court process will be for any woman and really any person who has experienced abuse. So we're going to dive into a conversation with Marie today so we can all learn more from her about the great work that they do. So welcome, Marie. I am really, really excited about our conversation today.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm glad to be here with you.
Great. So, you know what? Let's just start at the basics. Talk to us about like what is your role here at the shelter and what that kind of means.
So my role here at the shelter is the family court support worker. So that's helping women through the process from beginning to end. So starting even from considering leaving, right? Wanting to know what the process will look like before they make the decision to leave. Wanting to know how long the process is going to be, what complications can happen along the way. They just want to get some answers to their questions, right? And what would be their best avenue, what they think might work best, what they want to see as an outcome, because sometimes what you want to see isn't necessarily going to be what happens. So I help women be able to speak with a lawyer if they're experiencing domestic violence. So I just set them up with a 2-hour appointment to speak with a lawyer to get some legal advice. I offer legal information, so I help them understand the court process, what it will be like. I could support during the court process, so I attend court with women, whether it's virtual or in person. And I just walk them through what that day will look like as well when they go through court. What first appearances versus case conference. I just talk about whatever their questions are around the process, how children are involved, assets, leaving safely from the home. So going over safety planning. Of course, resources in the community. It's often not only do you need family court support, you also need some perhaps counseling or housing supports, even shelter. So talking about the shelter services as well as other community supports too.
Yeah, great. So let's really break it down a bit, right? So we can all fully understand. So, of course, difference between family court and let's say criminal court, right? So, what things will need to be decided in a family court process?
So in family court, it's looking at parenting time, division of assets, um, how exchanges might go with the children if both parties aren't able to have contact. Say there's a no contact order. So it's working on finding out who the third party would be that's acceptable to everybody. Just making sure that everybody's safe through the process, and getting like if there's children involved, the court wants to see what's best for the children, and as long as it's safe to do so, having both parents involved is what they want to see, as long as it's safe, of course.
Yeah. So even though a woman has been abused by her partner, that partner may not have been abusive towards the children. And so the court may decide that woman and the ex-partner still have um, equal rights or some shared rights to spending time with the children. Is
Yeah,
that fair to say that?
that is often the case. They look at that, but I mean, if there are safety risks to the children, of course, the judge looks at that, and safety risks for the mother to do, to have the exchange. That the sometimes ex-partners will go where they're not supposed to be going, on the property of the woman. So it's just letting them know too what they could do to keep safe, right? As well as calling the police, documenting that this is happening, so that they could bring it forward, so that the courts could see how serious this is, right? That they're not respecting the boundaries of the court order, if that happens, so that they could help keep the woman safe and the children as well.
So when a woman goes to court, or like I'm assuming that there's a lot of documents that she needs to prepare ahead of time, which I think you do a great job helping women to prepare for court and those paperwork things. Does a woman need to be telling her story of abuse? Like, does that have to happen in the court process? Does she provide a written submission? Like, I think in our conversation today, and a woman who might be watching right now, who's thinking, okay, what could this look like for me? She might be asking herself, do I need to say in front of everybody what it is that's happened to me?
So it does definitely help to record everything that's happened, especially if there's been serious incidences, any vulgar language, especially, if children were involved in the space, or there's any witnesses as well, even getting affidavits from them. It's very helpful to draw a full picture for the judge, to show what you've been through the relationship. So the judge knows how the severity of what you've been through, and why you feel it might not be safe for the children to be with their father 50-50, let's say, right? Why you think that they might need to have supervised access by another party that you agree on. Why even the supervised access center? So that's an option as well, if it's not safe, and you don't feel it's safe for the other party to have the child in their care, even with a third party, because you don't feel that third party that they're choosing would be a safe option. So there are options like that, but
I'm
definitely telling your full story. That the opposing party will see it, but it's your truth, and always share your full truth. There's a good chance that he might write, like the other party might write some things that are harsh back, and know that can happen, but your truth, and that's the important part. And in the end, you're able to prove it when it is the truth, right? So you don't need to cover any stories or lies if you just tell your full truth, and the judge will see that.
Yeah. I'm so thankful that they have your support to just walk them through this process, right? And I know we hear from women how difficult it is to retell your story, and to share just such intimate parts of a relationship, right? That you never wanted to be the case, right? In your opinion, and I mean, as a community agency, we try to educate our community about the work that we do and the experiences of women. And I know that has been education for the judge that might be hearing the cases. Do you feel that there is more understanding in the court process? And we're going to talk more about this after the break, but do you think that there's more understanding in the court system about the experiences of abuse that women have lived in?
I do think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I haven't had the full training for it, but there is a new law that's come into place called Kira's Law.
Yeah.
And it does definitely talk about protecting the women and the children differently because of what happened to that child. I won't get into all the details about it for sure, but there is Kira's Law. And so all new judges that come into judgeship, they have to now take a training on domestic violence and the effects on the women and the children as well. So that should be a nice shift that's happening in understanding more closely on domestic violence and the impacts of the entire family, not just on the one person, but on how the children are impacted by it as well.
Yeah, it's a great point, and we encourage our viewers. You can Google Kira's Law, and you will find some really valuable information about what that entails. And we are glad to see that there is some movement that's happening in terms of the training and education that's required for all judges and justice of the peace, police officers and folks who are really interacting with the women that we support and that we interact with all the time, right? And so I'm, again, just really thankful of the support that you provide to women, right? And if you were to try and sum up just, you know, how women feel during the court process, how would you describe that for them?
Scared is definitely one. Fearful of, not being believed, not being heard, um, not being able to keep their kids safe. Um, Sometimes feeling hopeless at times, right? And so that's a time that to call me, right? And then we could work things through and, give that extra boost of hope. And, I could support in whatever way that's needed in that moment, just even encouraging to go forward. How can I help? Can I be there part of that next step with you? Do you want me to attend that appointment with you? Do you want me to go to the courthouse with you? Just offering that piece of support because sometimes it feels very alone and you don't know what your next step is, so that's why if you reach out to me, I'm able to help and guide you where your next step could be. And if I don't have the answers, I will find the answers so that I'm directing you in the right direction. Even if you're outside of our region, I know how to reach other legal advocates in your area. So it can be scary and it can be very lonely feeling. So reaching out to supports that could give you the information that you need is absolutely beneficial.
Yeah. And we're going to share your contact information at the end of the show, Marie, for any woman that might be watching right now who says, I want that support, right? So we are going to have a very quick break and then we're going to circle back and we're going to continue this great conversation with Marie, the family court support worker here at the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie. And we're going to dive in more to just what the process looks like for women who decide to leave their abuser and then they're having to venture into the court process. So please stay with us. We will be right back and we'll continue this great conversation with Marie. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to Educate, Inform, Challenge. We're having a great conversation, very insightful, with Marie Imbeau, who is the family court support worker here at the shelter, really supporting, walking alongside, and helping women to navigate the court process. So I want to jump right back in, Marie, and just really dive in deep to what this court process looks like for women. So, I have a big question for you, but I appreciate your thoughts to it. What are the many challenges that women are going to face that they're going to need to tackle as they start this court process with you?
The first is, documents, right? That's always overwhelming, is filling out all the documents that are required to serve to the court to get the process started. So it's just like helping get that all organized and sorted. And I can help go over documents, help them understand, what does this mean? How do I fill in this block kind of thing? So, and I can help them understand that. Um, Finding a lawyer can be very challenging. I do regularly contact lawyers that are legal aid lawyers and just see if they're accepting clients at the time. So I do have a resource list that I go to. So I just call and say, are you accepting any clients at this time for family court law? And then if somebody calls me looking for that information, I will help get that to them. Sometimes there are times where it's very hard to find one that's available. But I do my very best to support people. I do have some really good relationships with some of the lawyers in the area, so that's very helpful. And the best part is that they're all knowledgeable around domestic violence. So I definitely do respect and appreciate everything that they do for the clients that I send their way, that's for sure.
So,
Um,
sorry, Marie. So, if they are getting legal aid, that means there's no cost to the woman at all for the legal support from the lawyer?
So that's correct. However, if they do own a property, the legal aid will, if they do qualify based on their income, legal aid will still support them. However, they just have to sign a contribution agreement, which does put a lien on the property. And that would be paid back to them up to whatever you used in legal fees at the legal aid rate, not at the full rate of like a regular hire the lawyer. It's at a more affordable rate as well when they put the lien. So if you only use $5,000, let's say, of legal fees because you were able to work things out quite amicably, they wouldn't take $20,000, right? So it's what you use.
No.
Yeah. So, and there are some lawyers that will do like cost for certain items, right? So not just, it's going to just keep going up and up. You know how much you're going to pay for this service, and then they just help you with those pieces that you might need a little extra support in, like filling out the paperwork, but not representing you in court type thing. So there are some lawyers that support like that. Um, and let's think.
Yeah, so we were talking about the challenges that women experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And, coming up with their stories, writing their stories out is very challenging because you have to relive and rehash everything that you've been through in the relationship and over the years. While doing it, I often, ask a woman to remember, have you told any friends or family members what's happened? Have you sent anybody an email or a text? Just so that they have dates to go along with what's happened in the relationship. Is there a video? Is there anything that you have to show, the dates that these incidents have happened, right? Is there a police report? Did anybody call Children's Aid, a neighbor, anything like that? Just some type of pattern that they could show to the police on these dates, right? The more you write down, the better it is. That way you could say on this date, this happened. So document, absolutely. I like to do, I like to tell people just make a bullet list at first, remember things that have happened and then put it in order after, right? Because you're not going to remember everything in order when you're thinking about your story. It'll come as it comes and then later put it chronologically, right? Um,
And so a lot of folks may think that when a woman leaves her abusive partner and now she's going through the court process, that she's safe, she's away from that person, and the abuse has ended. Can you talk about the difficulty that women still have going through the court process and they're even not with their technically with their abusive partner anymore?
I mean, ideally, of course, the abuse would stop when the relationship ends, but that is not the reality. It could actually be quite a dangerous time for a woman who's left a partner. So lots of safety planning to make sure she's safe wherever she's staying. Um, and through the court process, it's, the other party not filling out the paperwork, not attending court dates, but then attending the next date and just dragging things on and on and on, writing malicious things about their partner that aren't true and submitting that to the court to try to make them look like a bad parent, a bad partner, just trying to, diminish them as a person, um, even though it's not true, right? But they could just keep attacking, intimidating in the courtroom, where they position themselves waiting to go into the courtroom, um, just making everything that little bit difficult, right? As much as they can, trying to change court dates, disagreeing with things just to disagree, even though it makes sense. The judge says it makes sense, and they'll just keep fighting it just to fight it, just to drag things out and make it worse, right? Or hiding their income, right? Hiding some money, assets, things like that. Signing things over to family members just to try to hide what they have so that they don't have to pay for their children, for their partner, for child support, quitting their job so they don't have to pay child support. Thankfully, judges can impute an income when it's believed that somebody has done that, so that they would pay child support based on the income that they should be earning, that they're capable of earning. So that is something that happens as well. I've also seen judges order costs to the woman because of the opposing party showing up without anything done, without being prepared for anything, and wasting everybody's day, so that they are responsible for some costs for wasting that day.
Yeah. So when they were together, there was abuse happening, there was a control, manipulation, right? And I think what you're describing is that that same nature of abuse can still continue even though she's no longer with him, but now it's just happening through the court process. And I believe I also heard that sometimes folks, the abusive partner will choose to represent themselves to again delay the court processes uh, from happening.
Yes, absolutely, it does happen. Like, there's before you could get into case conferences, there's a first appearance that happens. And sometimes a first appearance can happen several times because it's just trying to set a court date to be ready. And if the opposing party shows up not prepared, hasn't filed any paperwork, it just drags the process out. And so if the woman's paying for a lawyer, it just keeps adding to her expenses.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, Marie. Our conversation has gone by really, really quickly, and just so much valuable information that you have shared. There's a lot of women that watch our program, and when they watch, they might be in the process of making a decision to perhaps leave their abusive partner, right? And knowing that they may need your support along this journey, right? What advice would you give to women who are watching today just about the journey and the importance of making their decision?
I say the most important thing is, and I think a lot of people don't realize that they could do this, is that they could say no if they disagree with something, that even if the judge is suggesting, they could still say no to that. If they really feel it's wrong, they could say no to their lawyers too, right? If their lawyer suggests something and they really don't feel that that's what they want to do, that they can say no, that their lawyer is there as like working for them, right? And for their best interest. So they can absolutely be heard and ask for different things. And they don't have to say yes to everything, even though they're feeling pressured or bullied from the other side, especially if she's self-representing and he has a lawyer. The bullying that can happen often, it's terrible, and you can say no. You don't have to agree to everything just because it comes from, say, like an authority figure, right? It's okay to say no, I disagree with that, but I will offer this. That's, and just be heard, be empowered, get support when you need it. You're not alone. Get the support from, like court support workers in your area. If you're not in our area and you're just watching here, there are people out there that can help you through this so that you don't feel alone, and make sure that your voice is heard.
Yeah, that's great advice. And so again, in the realm of advice, if there is just a woman right now who's living in abuse and she's scared, what advice, and I mean you worked in our front line, you have such a vast experience with working and supporting women. Just what advice would you give to a woman who's living in an abuse right now?
Reach out to the crisis line at your shelter, your local shelter. Get some support in place, get some answers, a safety plan to make sure that you're safe and your children are safe. And then you know what to bring with you to when you do decide to leave. Have a plan so that you can help have a plan. So communicate with crisis workers, with any resources in the community. Let people know what's going on so that people are aware and you have the support that you need through this time.
Yeah. It's great advice. And so that crisis line number is 705-728-2544. And we always encourage women to just call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can call us at any time. And there's always someone who's available to speak with you and to just talk to you about where you're at and what you would like. We are not going to decide for you or tell you what it is that you need to do. We're going to walk alongside you and support you and help you make the decision at the moment in time that you feel is best for you. So we hope that if you're listening, that you will call in, and you can also ask to connect with Marie by calling that crisis line as well. But you can also email Marie if you wanted to reach out to her and get some more information. Marie, your email address would be what?
It's Marie, Marie, at berryshelter.com.
Perfect. And so we encourage anyone, even just to drop a line to Marie so you can get some more information. So, Marie, thank you so much for today. Really appreciate all of the valuable information you shared. And, really your empathy and your care for women comes through in everything that you talk about. We hope that if you are a woman who is watching today, that you'll reach out to Marie or our crisis line for the support that is there waiting for you. Thank you to our community for being with us here today, and we will hope to see you again next time on Educate, Inform, Challenge. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.